All right, so finally able to start the session. So a very good evening to all of you. Hope you are doing great. And the rain was all of a sudden there. There was no hint of rain whatsoever in the evening, and then like it started pouring around 7:50 or so. I mean, it was lightning on top of that. Rain, okay, but lightning, that's a bit of a trouble. So, right. So, welcome all of you to the inaugural session of the 2025 A-Level ICT revision class. So this month, we're gonna have, I mean, it's a very eventful month, I know, but we will try to initiate, I wanted to actually start the class in November, but unfortunately things didn't line up my way, and I was still catering to the requirements of the 2024 batch people, they're just asking questions, getting things clarified and all that. So that's something that I have to, I mean, still going on. Though we don't have like official classes, like they just all of a sudden, like whenever they are studying, like they just send me a message saying, so make home the current and so I will have to comply, because this is the time that they need me the most. So I have to be there for them. So on top of that, I had some office work as well. So all of that didn't allow me to actually start the class on the expected time. But anyhow, we are here now, though we are a bit late, not like 1 hour late. Yeah, so today I'm not gonna do a lot of stuff, but we will actually do one question and sort of, get a taste of it. There are people who are from my classes, and those who are not, probably seeing me for the first time as well. So welcome all of you over there. So I will take you all through a bit of an introductory deck, and then thereafter, I have actually shared with you all a paper, the model paper one. So if you don't have it now, it's all good. I will share it through the meeting chat today. But whenever okay, this week, it was a bit delayed, but from next week onwards, I'll be sharing the papers or the tutorials, whatever that you have to get it, take prints, I'll send it a couple of days before, so that you all can get them printed and be ready for the class, and then hopefully attempt it before the class, so that we can have a smooth sail with the discussion rather than you reading the questions for the first time during the session. So all the instructions I will give it to you. Right. So anyways, give me 1 second. Right. So just want to take you all through a bit of a introduction to myself, and then what our plan is going to be in the months ahead. So my name is, as you all probably know, Prasanna Silva. So I go by Prasanna most of the time. Also Prasanna, if you're in a different kind of a school. But anyways, if I just take you through some of these things. All right. So let me just give you some bits and pieces of introduction. Some of the, physical class students might also this might be the first time that you're getting to know about me properly. So I have a bachelor's degree in ICT, or rather IT, Bachelor of Science in IT, BSc in IT, offered by Aldous Gate University, Philippines. So I did the first couple of years of that degree at University of Colombo, up to diploma and advanced diploma. It's the first 2 years of the degree, and then the third year actually got a scholarship from this university and got it completed there. So while doing that, I also did a BTech. It's actually a Dexel BTech Higher National Diploma in Electrical Electronic Engineering. So probably I've heard of this, what ESOFT is providing or offering. HND in computing. So this is not in computing. This is the electrical electronic engineering, particularly specialized in communications, telecommunications. I did the course at the SLD Training Center at Valisara. So it was a 1.5, yeah, almost 2 years sort of a program. And yeah, and then also diploma in teaching at Aquinas University College. So like it was a mandated one, I had to do it. But I actually like I love it, sort of like getting to know the other teachers and all the sort of like experiences. So it's like it's all about like the profession of teaching. So I was able to like complete that. It's again yeah, 1.5 years sort of a thing. And then I did a few courses in like, I wanted to like learn about counseling as well. So it kind of like comes in handy when it comes to tackling certain problems relating to children. So counseling psychology, a certificate course at OHIL. Um, yeah, and then like, there are a plethora of other, certifications and all the other stuff that is related to my profession right now. Uh, Completed. Yeah. And in terms of my experience, I started teaching in 2010. So like, this year, early this year, I actually left my school. I taught at St. Benedict's College, Colombo 13. Some of you all probably know it. And some of you all are attending it also. As an O-level and A-level ICT teacher, I loved my time there. I was basically, it was simply like, I actually, studied at the same school, but like after 13 years of study, like, my school said like, I'm not done with you. Like, you have to stay around for a while. And I completed like 14 years there as a teacher. So about 27 years of my life all spent in that school. So it's like, it was a very hard or tough decision for me to like, take in order to leave the place. But, based on my certain requirements and also like for my own growth, I thought of leaving. Now I'm currently working employed as a UI UX design engineer at an Aussie based Microsoft partnering company. I can't disclose the name, but if you follow me along around in social media, particularly LinkedIn, like you might get to know it about it. Yeah, so then while doing that, Uday, I'm also conducting physical classes at Headway Nigambo. So I have students from all of these three. Sorry, I forgot to put roots there. All like there are 4 institutes actually. Another institute is there in Nigambo, which I conduct classes at. So yeah, so previously I have taught at institutes like Shakti, Ganga Rama when it was their waterfront one, not the Bamba one, but the waterfront one. And then a few places in Vattala, like Shiksha is there, and then I've taught at campus Vattala, and a few other sort of ones as well. Just got a message from another 24 batch person. Uh, yeah, how to get the answer for this question? So yeah, I'm not kidding. Like it's like constant like questions sort of sent to me. But I'll sort of answer that after the class. Yeah, so that's my profile. Now, in terms of you, Pude, so we are all trying to achieve an A for ICT. So it's not just, I mean, this class has a very specific ambition or a target that is getting you all an A for ICT, right? Nothing else, getting an A for ICT. So, like in doing so, Pude, we have to have a bit of a roadmap. Now, I hope you all are aware of the curriculum. So we have 13 lessons in total. 14th one is the project which none of us actually do. 13 theory lessons and all the practical involved as well. So so far, like this time around, some schools are like kind of jumping around in terms of the syllabus. But some schools like are following the 1, 2, 3, 4 order. So there is okay. So in my case, if I sort of, be frank with you, it might not be the case where I cater to 100% of your requirements, which the school does. As in, now I know some schools have done unit number 10, unit number 12, unit number 13, which is the last lesson. And but bits and pieces from unit 5 and 6 and all that stuff, right? So like it's just jumping around, which is not my strategy technically. So I try to follow the lesson order as much as I can. There are some switching that I do. If I feel like, like this lesson has to be done prior to this particular lesson, then I might actually do it. Or maybe like, doing that lesson a bit earlier. I find it like, if I find it like, advantageous, I might do it. So only one or two switches being done in my theory classes. In the revision class today, now what I'm based on the questions, the discussions that I normally base myself on during our revision classes is the lessons that I have done in my theory classes, maybe one more lesson ahead. That's it, for the benefit of everyone else. But mostly it's like lessons from what we have been learning in my theory classes. So currently in my theory classes today, there are one class that is kind of lagging a bit behind, where I'm doing unit number 5, that is operating systems. And in most of my other classes, I'm kind of nearing to the end of the computer networks lesson, which is unit number 6. Okay. So I've what I've done is like throughout this time, like you probably know, in every class I tend to do like at least between 5 to 10 MCQ questions, so that you all have constantly questioned and benefited from it. And so what I've done is I completely stopped it, because I need to pay attention to the theory lessons, and then covering all of that requires a lot of time. I don't do for a very long, prolonged amount of time, 2 hours, the most 2.5. But it's like so far it has been just 2 hours most of the time. So 2 hours spent or 2.5 hours spent on theory, I will not have enough time to basically go through the revision stuff. So this is hence why, like, I've started this class in order to, bridge that gap, so that we have enough time. We have exclusive time dedicated for the discussion of paper questions, and like revising old lessons you probably have missed due to other school and other level commitments and all that. So this is the place where all of that is going to get covered, right? I'm not going to go through like, each and every individual line or page on your tutes. So what I'm actually doing is like you will be getting custom tailor-made tutes, which are basically summarizing all the lessons one by one, and then we'll be discussing on the past papers related to those lessons as well. So that's the plan today. So that we have we don't have any excuse. I missed that lesson and all that. No excuses thereafter. So we can just simply go through the short notes and like the shorter versions of the note, and then simply be able to cover those lessons. So again, our roadmap leads us towards an A for ICT, right? So if you just look at a few of these elements, you can see first thing is like whether we need to have a plan. You need to have an objective. By the end of now, we know that the exam is scheduled in the month of October next year. So 25 October, you'll be having your exams. That's based on the time slots allocated for the timetable of next year's year plan, what is being dispatched and disseminated amongst the principals. So that timetable, if you take, like, there is a 1 month period starting mid-October going on till mid-November. So that's basically the time where like you'll be getting your exams. So we don't have a lot of time, right? So as a result, today we will be covering these lessons. Along with that, we'll be doing some paper questions. Papers, basically, I'll be creating some of the custom questions, like, according to my experience and, how I come across the questions. And then I'll be dispatching some of the provincial papers that are available publicly. And then also, we'll be discussing a few past paper questions as well, particularly unit wise, hopefully, and then uh, at least like the last few years papers, we have to kind of do it in class so that we have enough practice. And while doing that, so we'll be tactically checking out how the answers are being given and how the marks are being given to each of the answers, so that we have an idea about how the questions are going to be, and then how the marks are being dispatched, right? So we'll have a study plan, and we'll try to stick to it and execute it. And we will also be doing unit-wise revisions, unit one onwards. We will have a few exams, online examinations, like from time to time, just to keep ourselves grounded on the lessons. And then we'll be learning, or we'll be checking out past papers and model papers, and we'll see how the answering is being done. But give me one second. All right, so that's basically what I wanted to give you all in terms of our introduction. I know that you all don't have any questions, but if you do have, now is the time. So you can use the chat box to simply interact with me today, and also you can unmute yourselves at any time. And then also, if you have anything to ask, or if you feel like, okay, I'm sort of like going in a uh, kind of a state where like you don't understand like a bits and pieces here and there, so you can just simply stop me and ask me questions to get them sorted out. If you feel like, it'll be disturbing, you can just, send me the message through the chat box. I will basically answer. Right. Any questions so far, Uday, from, I mean, there's nothing lesson wise, but in terms of how okay, so one more thing, in terms of tudes and papers. I'll be making the tudes and papers available through the Google Classroom, right? So, yeah, so some of y'all, you probably have received a text message, uh, like asking y'all to, register through your email and all that. And then the email that you registered with, right? And you can use that. I've added that to the Google Classroom. You probably have received an invite. So check out your emails, and then inboxes, and then see whether an invite has arrived. If not, check the spam folder as well, because most probably like Google stuff like probably ends up in the spam folder as well. So just check that out also. And so main correspondence, we will be creating a WhatsApp group later, but immediately, like we have already created the Google Classroom, and the tudes and the papers will be available there, including the class link. So the class links are every week a new link is created, and it will be made available through the Google Classroom. And then you'll be able to access and get the resources from there, right? Now, this month is a kind of a trial month. So therefore, so from next week onwards, if possible, before the next week's class today, you have to like pay a half of the fee that is assigned to you. Why I say that is because there are two payments for people who are uh, joining in from my institute classes and my online classes. Those who are already my theory students, the fee for them is going to be 1,500. For anyone who is joining, who are new, who are guests, it will be 2,000 rupees for them. So it's actually the fee is 2,000, but I'm giving a discount for the students who are already paying for my theory classes as a gesture of appreciation. So like you all can join in for that fee, but this month it will be half that cost. So it'll be 750 for the people who are like in my theory classes and 1,000 for the people who are joining from outside, because we'll be able to have like two sessions the most, except for this one, like two sessions next week and the week after. So rightfully so, like I should not be charging the full amount from you. So let's put the cost thing or the fee thing like aside for a while, and then we'll try to get the maximum out of this within this month itself, right? Uh, yeah. So any other questions pertaining to that, do let me know. And then the tudes today, you all have to take printouts from your end, because there are people who are joining in from Norelia and then Vaticulo and yeah, as far as I remember, and then there was one from Martha as well. So you all can take the printouts, but it's like courier charges and all that stuff. I think you can probably get it for a get the printouts for a lesser fee. So you all can get that. And so I'll be dispatching quite a number of like tudes and short notes and all that. So that's what I'm planning to do. So like making sure that you take the printouts and also like have that discipline for it. Otherwise, like whatever we plan from my end, and if your commitment is not there, it's not going to work out. So like we'll have a plan, we'll have a proper plan, and then we'll sort of work on it, and we will get the maximum results that we can. This for sure, if you kind of like if I have your support, and then together we are capable of achieving. So my goal as well as your goals are basically the same, right? It's simply this, nothing else, right? Okay, so without further ado, let's move on to the question paper. Right, so since we are kind of from different areas in the curriculum today, we will do something that is somewhat common to most of us, right? Let's do, this is the paper that I had shared with you, right? All right, let's discuss a few MCQs, and hopefully like we'll try to do an essay question as well. All right, let's start from the first one itself. Right. If you all have any questions, but I do let me know. All right. Let's go through the first question. Consider the following statements related to cloud computing services. Right. Now, when you say cloud computing today, we're essentially talking about internet related services, right? So there are different levels, or there are different levels, types of people who are using, the internet, right, including ourselves. And we are mainly consumers, right? So through the internet, whatever that the internet has to offer, like, we are simply consuming, right? So if it is, I mean, you might be watching videos through the internet, like, it might be listening to songs, YouTube, Spotify, Netflix, and all these sort of things are services that are being provided, right? So we are simply consumers in that sense. Sorry. Good question, Mur. Yes. So the papers are being dispatched. So today there was a bit of a delay. I agree. Apologize for that. Uh, so basically, the papers will be made available about 2 days prior to the session. So you'll have to work on it, right? You'll have to do the paper and keep it with you. And then basically what I will do is we'll be discussing and you all can correct it by yourself. There is another format which is like, you'll be getting in some cases, not this is not a constant thing. In some cases, you will have to do an online, it's a Google form sort of a thing where you have to like basically answer the questions and then I will be getting all of your answers and you can basically say join the session and then we'll be discussing the questions, right? So papers being done and sent to me and me myself correcting today, that will not happen. Okay. So that's one thing that I want you all to do from your end. There are a few, like, once a month or maybe, yeah, probably once a month sort of a thing. I'll be having a small test where that is mandated. Like you have to answer the questions, send it to me in the form of like a PDF converted, like take photographs and convert that into a PDF. Then I will be correcting and sending you the answers. So I just need to keep track of your, not each and every paper today, but at the end, like there will be a paper, like that's what evaluation part is, right? So not every week, but once a month, the last week of the month today, I'll be making the paper available somewhat earlier, maybe somewhere around Sunday, like on that, maybe the weekend, maybe Friday. So that you all can work out on it during the weekend and then send it to me so that I can correct, especially the essay part. So those ones are basically the essay questions, not really the MCQs. That of course it's just a matter of like correcting right or wrong. But the essay questions and the structured essays, not the entire papers with it, but a few questions put together. And then I'll be checking out like, how you all are writing the answers, and then is it like somewhat aligned with the marking scheme method, and then you can get my feedback in a better way for essay based questions. It's like a mixed bag today. So we do discuss about MCQs as well, but along the way, once we do enough lessons, now we can essentially do two lessons properly. Sorry, two questions properly. That is the logic gates question and the network question. That is the IP address part. So we might not be able to do the proper like full on papers because we have not done enough lessons. So as and when we go along with the lessons, I'll be increasing your workload as in the second paper question appearances might be a bit more prominent in the future, right? It's mostly, as you said, like you can experience or else like we'll be doing more MCQs than the essay questions. But you will have to, answer once a month sort of a thing, and then I'll be correcting. Is that clear with it? Right, great. Any other questions? All right, let's get back to our MCQ. All right. So, as I told you today, there are different types of people who are using the internet. Us, most of the time, we are consumers. There are people who are developing, right? In the company that I work at, also, like, they're all remote people, as in, like, they work in different places, some abroad, some in Australia, some in Finland, most of us are in Colombo and down south and Candy, all these, like it's all spread across. But everyone is working on the same product, right? So we can basically collaboratively develop software applications, uh, particularly internet-based ones, that basically someone else will be using consuming to get their work done. Okay, so for developers, there is another level of cloud computing. And also, people have migrated from on-premise hardware into cloud-based ones. Now, if you think of yourself, like on your phones, now there are people who might be using Spotify here. Right? There was a time where, like, we had loaded hundreds of songs onto our phones and then created the playlist and were listening through the headsets or whatever, right? But now we don't, right? I mean, there is no need to do that. It's just a matter of like you getting YouTube music or something, or else like Spotify. Might be a paid one, or else there are workarounds to that as well. So when you do, like, you can basically, without relying on the songs that are actually stored on your storage, you can simply listen to songs that are on the cloud or else like basically available. And you don't have to like worry about storage space running out or anything as such in that, aspect. So very similarly, there are corporate clients and banks and financial institutions and many large sector corporate companies, organizations. They have removed all of their like most of their file servers and all these sort of like hardware dependencies, and they have migrated to cloud. As in, there are service providers such as Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Computing, Platform GCP as we call it, AWS, and also Microsoft has its Azure platforms. So all of this are basically without you having to own your own hardware, you can rely on someone else and pay them a rent, right? It makes perfect sense, right? You don't have to invest a huge amount of money on your own hardware, but you can just, it's like, rather than building a house or a building, you can just simply rent a space for a fraction of the cost that you'll have to bear in, constructing a building, acquiring a land and all these sort of things, right? So this is super convenient for them. Those are like, being managed by administrators. So there are three levels of cloud computing. If you look at ABC statements, the fundamental resources such as physical and virtual machines, that of course is called IaaS, infrastructure as a service provider. Okay. So that means like the virtual hardware stuff, right? The users access online applications to get their work done, right? That is ourselves, us, right? Now, something like Google Drive, and like you can access Google related free software that is available, Sheets and Docs and all these sort of things, right? So getting our work done, entertaining ourselves through like, listening to songs and watching movies, all of that is for end users. So that happens to be under software as a service provider. IaaS, let me just, give you, it's for admins, virtual hardware. Right. So along with the paper, it's a sensible thing to keep a couple of rough papers with you, Pute. So whatever the notes that I might say or whatever you pick up, you can just simply write it down and organize your thoughts and content like accordingly. SaaS or software as a service is for end users. Right. We just simply consume. And then the middleware and the tools required are provided online to build web applications. So that is what I was talking about for developers. That's called platform as a service today. PaaS, platform as a service. I stands for infrastructure. S stands for software. P stands for platform, because they need the tools and the platform and the the staging that allows them to build the applications and collaborate. So these are for the developers, devs, and this is for building applications, build apps. Okay. So accordingly, what do you think is the answer for it? We just need to put them in the correct order and you should be able to get it. You can drop me the answer through the chat box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. A is ISS, B is SSS, C is PSS. The answer seems to be the second one. Very good. Moving on. Is that clear with any questions on number 1? All right, great. Number 2. The interval from the time of submission of a process to the time of completion is termed as. Can I know whether you all have done this lesson at school? This is unit number 5, coming under process management. So school or class or whatever, like, have you all done this? Nice, okay. Some of you all have, some of you all have not. Okay, that's fine. So we have technically covered this section even in the Jala class, I believe. So all of you all should be able to work this out. All right. So the interval from the time of submission of a process to the time of completion is termed as what? Let me try to get the slides for that. All right. So kind of goes like this, but all right. So okay, when I do this lesson in classes, like kind of relate to this as you go into a night kade sort of a thing, and you you pay for a kottu roti, and then simply hand over the slip to the person who makes it, right? So like you amongst everyone else who is waiting to get their hands on their kottu are basically waiting eagerly for the person to pick it up. So this is you handing it over. That is basically called the arrival time, right? You hand it over. That's similar to the process entering the ready queue from the can remember the process state transition diagram. From the new state, it's being admitted into the ready state, right? So it waits for its time for a while, and then the person picks up the slip. Okay, so it seems like it's a normal chicken roti kottu sort of a thing. And so like he might tend to bulk process, as in like, 3, 4 kottus together, like, try to, prepare them all at once. That usually happens. So puts like, the stove and then like, that's the first thing that needs to happen. So this is like, the getting the attention of the CPU and to the running state. The process is being admitted into the running state, or rather dispatched into the running state by the short-term scheduler. And then the time slice finishes and it has to sort of get back to the ready queue, and it waits for another while, and then again it's being dispatched by the short-term scheduler into the CPU for the second burst time, and then another wait, and then finally the last leg of this processing finishes it off, and then wraps it up and hands over to you the code to write. So that's basically the completion time. So while it is in progress, what happens is like, as soon as you hand over this, the slip, that is your arrival time, the submitted time, or the process entering the ready queue. And up until like its exit state, like, releases the resources allocated to it and exits. Like during that particular time, it sort of, rotates around in the main memory. The total time that was spent to do that is called the turnaround time, right? It's basically the difference between completion time and arrival time, or else the cumulative value of the total burst times. Burst means like the processing times for that. Waiting times are the times where like the process has to wait in the ready queue, or maybe sometimes in the ready suspended state as well, or might get blocked also. So all of these are considered to be waiting times. Put together, you have the turnaround time. So that's the answer for that particular question. So the interval from interval as in the time duration from the time of submission of a process to the time of completion is termed as, in which case our answer should be turnaround time. Right. Is that clear? Any questions on that? Correct. Yes, Miro. Yeah, correct. Question number three, a process is selected from the blank queue by the blank scheduler to be executed. Now, when we do these sort of questions, this is like simply checking out your knowledge. This is not the revision sort of a thing. Revision, of course, like, we'll be doing it as if we are doing a lesson, not like question answers, but this is like paper mode. We're not in the revision mode right now. So hopefully like next week, we'll be able to start with unit one revision. So it's not a big lesson. So therefore we should be able to cover up the entire lesson, hopefully. Uh, but in bigger lessons, what I will do is like we'll make sure that we do a few MCQs and maybe a essay question also, and also do the revision part as well. So today there's a bit of a mishap due to the bad weather and all that. But yeah, that's how it's gonna be. All right, number three. Let's try to answer this today. A process is selected from the blank queue by the blank scheduler to be executed. Executed means like it's being put into the running state, right, today? So what do you all think is the answer to this one? Correct, Stilonia. Yep. Yes, Mehul. Yes, Ashwini. Yes, Prashant. Yeah, I mean, there are three schedulers that we learn about in process management: long term, short term, and mid term. Right? So, this thing, this interaction is happening between the ready state and the running state. So, between the ready and running state, we have the short term scheduler break, right? That's the one that is deciding which process out of the processes that are lined up in the ready queue, it picks up one process, the most suitable one or the highest priority one or the shortest one, depending on whatever the algorithm they're using. It will pick up one process and then assign it to the CPU, which is in the running state. That activity is called dispatching. Therefore, we call the short-term schedule as dispatcher as well, right? So the answer for this one is like from the ready state or the ready queue, a process is selected and is assigned into the CPU for the execution or the running state. That is being done by the short-term scheduler or the dispatcher. So you better know uh, the substitute names for those schedulers as well. Let's if you try to just recall this long-term scheduler. Can you give me another name for it? There's one, if I remember correctly. Another name for the long-term schedule. You can speak out as well if you can, like unmute yourself. That is also good. Yes, your hands are correct. Stilonia, correct. Dinesh, correct. It's called the job scheduler. Correct. So, short-term scheduler, we learned one that is called the dispatcher. There's another one for the short-term scheduler. Another name for the short-term scheduler or the dispatcher. Correct, we answer. Very good. How about the others? It's okay to give me wrong answers. It's okay to try out. Right. So if you give me a wrong answer, I will not call it out. Okay. So if you have given me the correct answer, I will mention your name, saying that that's the correct answer. Right. So it's okay to try out. Trialing is very much encouraged. Give me the wrong answers. That actually helps me in sort of tailoring my lessons ahead. Still only a correct today. All right, that's also called the CPU scheduler today. So short-term scheduler, dispatcher, and CPU scheduler. All three referring to the same fellow. And we also have the midterm scheduler. That one is actually called the process swapping scheduler because it swaps around processes from the main memory into the virtual memory and back and forth, right? All right, the answer for the third question is number 3. Number 4, consider the following statements. Dispatch latency is the time it takes to stop one process and start running another one. Okay. Scheduling is done so as to increase CPU utilization. The switching of the CPU from one process or thread to another is called context switching. Which of these are correct? Some that statement is not there. So we'll assume that they're asking for the correct ones. So what do you all think? Sir? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the answer? Again, it's okay to give me wrong answers. That's completely fine. If you submitted an answer, but if I don't say your name or something like that means it's wrong, you can try out once again. Okay. All right. So there can be a few questions or other words that are somewhat new to you. Sorry. Um, right. So dispatch latency means dispatching. We just talked about it. Short-term scheduler assigning a task to the CPU, right? So for it to, like, if you can remember the context switch, like I'm sort of referring to statement number C. Context switch AKD, if you can remember, the two lines were there, right? So let me just roll down that. 1 second. Should be over here somewhere. All right, here we go. Sorry, it's all scribbled out. So what happens is in context switching, we are switching over from one process to another, which we often have to do. And it's being completely controlled by the short-term scheduler. Okay. Suppose like, P0 is currently being executed. Right? P0 konnadan execute vegan. And then what happens is at this stage, an interrupt is generated by the short-term scheduler asking it to stop executing because there's another fellow who is waiting or else like a higher priority process has arrived in the queue. So you'll have to stop, right? Wait. So what it does is it will basically save its state into the corresponding PCB, P0, PCB0. And then the short-term scheduler or the scheduler will have to reload the state of PCB1, the process that it is switching over to into the CPU. State means like register values for it, right? Are being stored back into the CPU so that the execution can resume from that point onwards. It's like, in my examples, often what I get is like reading two books sort of. So you keep track of the page that you have read so far, and maybe a small summary of like what you have read. You probably have written and scribbled and kept as a bookmark, so that when you resume, you know from where to resume and go, and you know the story so far as well. So it's very similar to the CPU as well. So when you keep track of, because the CPU might not be able to finish off a process in one burst. Oftentimes that is not the case. So therefore, it will have to like come back and come back again and again to a particular process in order to like do a certain number of instructions of it, and then before it sort of switches over to something else. So it will have to revisit this process once again, over and over again rather. So in order to sustain that, in order to be able to like continue from wherever it stopped, it has to store the information or the register values into the process control block. ඒක තමයි මෙතන වෙන්නේ. So the dispatcher or the short-term scheduler plays a major role in this entire process, right? So during this time, මෙන්න මෙතන you can see that you have to store the P0 values into its PCB, and PCB1, P1 එකේ තියෙන state එක has to be loaded back into the CPU. There is a bit of a delay there. It takes up a bit of time. So during this time difference, the CPU is doing nothing. Okay. So we say that the CPU is idling. It's not doing any productive work. So the delay is more, it sort of grows if you have very large number of register values. Okay, in modern CPUs, like you have quite a number of registers. So therefore, it takes quite a bit of time to store these values and also to bring it back. We're talking about microseconds or nanoseconds, but still those are sort of, consuming a bit of time. So this delay is called the dispatch latency. How long it takes for the CPU to for the short-term scheduler to dispatch the next fellow in, and then take the one that is running low priority process එක එළියට දාලා high priority process එක launch කරන්න කොච්චර වෙලා යනවද කියන එක. That is what dispatch latency simply is, right? So if you take the answer that is given today, that sort of hits the nail properly, right? Dispatch latency is the time it takes to stop one process and start running another one. Seems to be correct. Not a keyword that we find in the curriculum, but that is where we are. Scheduling is done so as to increase CPU utilization. So scheduling means okay, so scheduling and managing, all these sort of terms are there to simply take the most out of a scarce resource. Something that is limited in nature, we try to get the maximum out of it. In order to do that, we need management and we need scheduling. Particularly, if it is time related, scheduling is super important. So why do we do scheduling? So that we can make the most out of the most precious resource that we have in the system, which is the CPU, right? We try not to allow it to idle as much as we can, but still, as you saw, like during the process switchover, it sort of tends to lag a little bit or else like idle a little bit. ඒක නැති කරන්න බෑ. But we can try our level best for it to we should be able to provide it with something for it to process. So scheduling is done for that exact process. This is exactly true. This is correct. The switching of the CPU from one process or a thread to another. The thread is simply a sub-process today, right? To another is called context switching. That is spot on, correct. So in that case, all of these are correct statements today. I actually did not get that. Dispatch means today assigning a process which is in the ready queue into the CPU. So there are two states, right? So we have the ready states and the running states. Running state is the most important state for any process to be in. So what we try to do is we try to simply there is a queue of processes that are here waiting to be processed, lined up, a queue. That's why we call it the ready queue. Out of this ready queue, the short-term scheduler decides which one is the highest priority one and then assigns it into the running state. This is called dispatching. Dispatch करना के लिए कहने launch करना कहने को आगे दे. Okay, something like that. Correct. So the answer for that one is the fifth one. All right. So our time's up, right? So the designated time till 10. So what we will do for the next week, we will have a proper session with, of course, Unit 1 revision. We will do some of these essay questions and okay, right. So it's good that you learned that, right? Right. So basically, yeah. So along with the revision part for we will also be doing some of these questions. So it's best that if you have actually done these questions, so without you having to process it then and there, you can simply give me your answers so that we can expedite the process, right? Time schedule. Is it relating to operating systems today or else something else? Should take you through. Sorry, I got myself disconnected. Let me just share once again. Right. So it's basically the arrival time, waiting time, all this stuff, like along with the turnaround time as well. We went through this. And we also have a few others, something called scheduling policies, preemptive and non-preemptive. Right. So when we get to a point where we're discussing or doing the revision on operating systems, I'll take you through all of this rather than doing jumping around here and there. So that's the two modes that we have in our class. We have a paper session and we have a revision session. So that's why paper plus revision sort of that is for us to have a proper flow of the lessons along with doing actual papers as well, right? And we also in a very slight manner, because this part is actually not there in the syllabus, but this makes perfect sense if you actually teach that as well, but not calculations. That is too much of a stretch, right? Like we learn about first come first serve, shortest job first, priority, and round robin. Those are scheduling algorithms, right? So all of this comes under scheduling as to how to make the most out of the CPU, because that's the most important resource that we have in our systems, right? Clear with it? Is that what you asked, Zainab? Is there anything else that I can help you out with? Right. All right. So even after the class, but if you have any questions or if you have any pointers or sir, or something like that, do let me know. I'm all ears for that, so that we can get the most order. So our objective is the same. So we'll try to work together in order to get it. And do pass around the message as well. So this 2 weeks, like, it'll be a bit of an opportunity for them to trial out the class. And I will send you all about the payment details as well. So I'm kind of in between my migrating from my old website to a new one. So it's like the old one is like very old, and you might get to see like 2021, stuff and all that. The new one is like has not been built. It's like currently a work in progress. I've taken up some other people's projects. I'm kind of like trying to meet some deadlines. So finish that off and then I'll work on mine. So පඩුවා ගෙදර පුටුවක් නෑ වගේ scene එකක් තමයි. But anyways, I will work on that and make it available. But beforehand, I will share with you the payment details and all that so that you can make the payments due time. All right. So any other questions before we wind up? How did you feel about, especially the people who have not been in my sessions today? I know this is not much, but what you felt, I would be glad if you all can just drop me a message through WhatsApp or something, like giving me pointers or what you thought about the class. Am I speaking too fast or anything? Any comments, I would really appreciate. And all of my OGs as well. Oh, thanks. Okay. Can see a set like I'm talking about the classes. Class if you can just think of something, all bad pointers, like just let me know that I can improve myself. All right, then. So let's wind up for the day. Hope you all had something or learned something from this. Next week, we'll do a proper session. Hopefully, we won't get disturbed by the rains or thundering or lightning. All right, then. So I'll see you all next week, Uday. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Good night. God bless you. God bless you, Uday.
Sir, God bless, sir.
God bless you, Uday.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
You're welcome, Uday. God bless you. God bless you, Uday.